Here we are at a new week with a new lesson. We ended last week with our Chapter 1 test. There were 2 other sections left, so I want to address those today. We ended also with talking about patterns in one of our previous lessons, and we're going to examine that a little bit more in today's lesson. In Lesson 1.9, we're going to be looking at multiplying and dividing integers. We'll start off by examining how multiplication is just repeated addition, and we're going to use those patterns to help us to develop the rules. We'll then use the rules to solve some problems. So let's start by examining this repeated addition. It's telling me to have 3 of -5. So 3 times -5 in expanded addition form would be -5 plus -5 plus -5. If the signs are all the same, you keep the sign and just add. Now I want you to try the next 3 examples on your own and we'll compare. In the second example, I need 5 -4s. So I take -4 and I'm going to add it to itself 5 times. The signs are all the same, so I know I'm going to get a negative answer. 4 plus 4 is 8, plus 4 is 12, plus 4 is 16, plus 4, 20. Since they were all negative, I have a -20. Third problem, -8 plus a -8. Again, same signs. My sum here will be -16. Fourth one, take -10 and add it to itself 4 times. If the signs are all the same, we just add and keep the sign. That's a rule that we worked on in the previous section. We get -40. So take a look at how we expanded and our end result, the sum, because I have a couple questions about these patterns. My first question is, looking at those sums, what do you notice about the sums of all the problems in the previous slide? Well, the signs of all those sums were negative. So what does the pattern suggest about the product of a positive and a negative integer? It tells us that the product of a positive and a negative is going to be a negative. So the product of a positive number times a negative will give us a negative. Let's now look at these in the rule form. The product of 2 integers with the same sign is positive. You could have 5 times 2. 2 positives will give me a positive product. You could have -3 times a -4, and your product will be a +12. Same signs, positive product. Rule number 2, the product of 2 integers with different signs will be negative. -10 times 3, unlike or different signs, will give me a -30. 6 times a -4, unlike signs, negative product. Third rule, the product of 0 and any integer is 0. 9 times 0 will give me a product of 0. -7 times 0 will also give me 0. If one of your factors is 0, the entire product will be 0. Let's try a few problems. I would like you to copy these 5 problems. I left the rules on the side, and we'll give the answers during our live session. Before we end today's lesson, there is one other important set of rules I'd like to share with you. When we're multiplying more than 2 factors, in the previous problems, we were only multiplying 2 factors or 2 numbers together. If there is an even number of negative factors, our product will be positive. So if I look at this example, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is an even number, so that means that I'm going to have a positive product. And the inverse would be true here. If there is an odd number of negative factors, then my product will be negative. Well, negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3, there are 1, 2, 3 negative factors. 3 is an odd number. My product is negative. Now I wrote a couple of examples here in exponential form. Negative 1 to the 7th power. That means I'm taking this factor negative 1 and multiplying it by itself 7 times. 7 is an odd number, so that means my product is going to be negative. And we know that when we're multiplying 1 times itself, we just get 1, so my product is negative 1. I now have a base of negative 2, and this time I'm going to multiply it 6 times, which is an even number. So if I have an even number of negative factors, my product is going to be positive. So right away I already know the sign of my answer, and that's going to be a positive 64. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. In my last one, I have a negative factor raised to the power 3, which means 3 times. 3 is an odd number, so that should tell you that your product is going to be negative. If it's odd, I'm going to get a negative, and that's going to give me a negative 64. We're going to go over many more problems for practice in our session today, so I will see you in class.